All right, great. Ladies and gentlemen, traders from different parts of the world, I present to you Mr. Obina Onana is going to be taking us right now on how to use FX Dreamer and other things, not just that. He's going to be putting us into, open our eyes to a lot of other things that we can do when it comes to automation and the business of trading. Mr. Obina, you can take it away.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Precious. Always a very good anchor. It's a good time to be here. I'm excited to meet everyone here, also to, discuss what we're going to share today. I know everyone is, I hope everyone is doing well, wherever we are at work, maybe at home. And then I'm sure we are excited, looking forward to what we'll discuss today. So in the past 2 days, we've had, kind of like an intensive session where we have discussed, several key points with regards to trading and ways we can improve our bottom line, which is all what we are looking for. And then for those of you who, were able to join or come into the event we had in Lagos, which was a good one, we were able to meet together in person and also had some good conversations and learned quite a number of things. Okay, so this whole 3D session is just to expand on that and to give us access to tools and resources that we might otherwise not be able to have. So today we're going to be focused on, my session was on, AI automation or EAs. And so we're going to be looking, basically diving deep into that. At the event at Ikeja, I shared how we can build Forex robots without coding and, how easy it can be, obviously, and if you put your head right around it. So today we're going to be following up on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to look a little bit into that, a lot more into that. We're going to look to build our first EA together, actually test it. We'll look to also optimize it. But I'm going to start off by just explaining, a lot more about EA building, why it's important, and then we can just follow up from there. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing my screen now. Yeah, okay. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Okay. Okay, I believe you should be able to see my screen and also hear me clearly. Okay. Um, so let me just move this away. Sorry, please give me feedback. Can you guys see my screen? I'm sharing basically the EBC clients portal. That's just what's on my browser. Just quickly, let me know if you can see my screen so that I know we are on the same page. Yeah, yeah, okay, okay, okay. Okay, okay, good, good. Thank you, Lutayo. Thank you, Gabriel. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kalua. Yeah, okay, so well, EBC doesn't need an introduction. I believe we are the world best broker, right? We are second to none. We don't really consider others as competition because we are on a league of our own. So I believe everyone here has an account with us. If you don't, please, reach out to whoever sent you the link to join this program. Okay, so but we're not here to really talk about EBC today, even though it's always the focal point. We're here to look at how to do trade automation. But before, while we're going to do that, I think it will make sense for me to. I'd also want to use some illustrations to explain certain things. Now, when it comes to trading, the overall goal is to be able to, make money, right? Make money, to be able to analyze the market and execute our analysis. But sometimes because of life, we don't have, or we don't have the time to sit down in front of the chart and watch every price action play out. Because sometimes, how many of us have had the experience where you're waiting for a specific thing to happen before you trade, maybe for price to reach a particular zone or get to a particular area before you buy or sell. But while you're sitting on the chart, it doesn't happen. And then maybe you go to bed and wake up in the morning and exactly what you were expecting to happen happened, but you were not. available to take those trades. The reason is because, well, you're not a robot. You cannot be on your chat on your screen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or 5.5 days a week. Or if you're trading Bitcoin, then obviously it's 7 days. And this is where EAs or robots comes in. Yesterday, Mr. Precious shared some very, very wonderful insights with regards to how you can build Forex robots using ChatGPT's prompt. Telling it what to do, going, compiling those codes, testing it, optimizing it, and iterating. And today we'll do something similar, but it's going to be, I promise you, it's going to be a lot more fun. And then you can actually incorporate it with, what you learned yesterday in terms of you can kind of integrate the FX Dreamer space uh, plus the ChatGPT idea together and maybe come up with some things powerful. Now, remember the risk disclaimer. Forex trading carries a lot of risk. You want to ensure that you're trading with risk capital only. Yes, we are here to teach you how to mitigate risk, how to basically make profit and mitigate risk. But nothing here constitutes financial advice. And we what do you call it? Even if we give you some like EAs, like yesterday, I know Mr. Precious promised that clients who meet specific requirements would get access to some EAs he has that he mentioned, and that would also be the same today. You would all be able to get access to some EAs and all, but these things you need to know are not coming from EBC. They are our personal use, and we're not giving them to you to go and trade, but to back test yourself and decide. So any decision you come up with is your responsibility. Okay, so with all of that out of the way, the question then is why trade Forex? In terms of why why use Forex robots? I've kind of explained that in a bit where I mentioned that there are certain things we might want to do, but for one reason or the other, we are not available to take the opportunities when they present themselves. And yesterday, Mr. Precious shared, he built an EA using some moving average crossover and try and use that to make trading decisions. So what we're going to do, I think, just to be consistent, we're going to build an EA that uses the same kind of parameters. We're going to test it, then we're going to try and optimize it together. So it's going to be fun. And then we're going to do it together as a unit. Okay. So first off, what are Forex robots? Well, Forex robots are just simply, lines of code that we basically build or construct to tell our MT4 or MT5 chat what to do. Right. So remember, it's kind of like garbage in, garbage out. So think of it like you're baking a cake. I can use whiteboard. Okay, I can just draw here. So think of it like you're baking a cake, right? You're trying to bake a cake. In order to bake a cake or to cook any soup, you need a recipe for that. So you need some items. So for instance, you're going to need flour, right? You're going to need butter, you're going to need milk, sugar, and let's say chocolate, whatever it is, you're going to need the recipe. So the items that you need. Now, like I mentioned to the guys in Lagos, where we had the event, I said, if you have all those ingredients, and you just throw them together inside the bowl and cover them, and and expect that tomorrow you will have a cake. You're most likely delusional. You're dreaming. It's not going to happen. In order to come up with a cake, a good cake, even though you have all the right recipes in the right quantity, you're going to need to follow specific procedures, right? So it's the same thing. If you want to build a robot, you're going to need to kind of like instruct the bot what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So it's like saying, oh, one of the main ingredients is flour. So let's just use flour as F. Well, you will not just put two basins of what, two paints bucket of flour to 1 cube of sugar. It won't make any sense. You're going to need to put it in the right proportion. So if you're writing a recipe so that somebody else can easily follow, you just say, okay, use X amount of flour, use X amount of sugar, use X amount of, butter, whatever. And then let's say you're going to say mix the flour with water until it is this particular way and then do the same. So you're going to write specific instructions telling it what to do. Now in building EA, we're going to actually do something very similar. Now this whole idea that I'm mentioning here is it's very critical whether you're looking to do it using like a chat GPT, whether you're looking to build directly, let's say you understand C programming and then you understand the MQL4, MQL5 language, whether you're doing that or whether you're using the FMA. Because remember, Forex robots in themselves don't make any sense. They are only as valuable as the logic behind them. So if it's a good logic, then it's going to. So if it's a good logic and it's applied in the correct environment, then it's going to make you money. If it's a good logic and it's applied in the wrong environment, it will lose you money. If it's a bad logic, obviously, it will lose you money. And it's just, if both of them are false, it will also lose you money. So you need good logic, right environment for it to work. So for instance, if a bot is a trend-based EA, it is best applied in a trend-based environment. So when the market is trending, it will make you money. If a bot is a range, like a scalping bot that takes, trade back and forth, like Mr. Precious mentioned yesterday, a bot that is martingale and is making you a lot of money. If the market quickly runs in one direction, it could lose you a lot of money. So it's now down to you need to know, okay, what market conditions do I apply specific things and then apply it properly, right? Now, usually this is how I like to do things. I like to help people understand the why, and then it's easy for them to understand the what, right? So when you're looking to build a bot, you need to write down, for me personally, I'll tend to build a flow chart. Right now, I'm used to programming and computer languages. So, but it's quite simple. Just if you draw out a flow chart for what you want to do and why, it's easy for you to start building. So now let's say we want to build a bot that, uses the moving average crossover. We know that if price is bullish, right? If the market is resultantly bullish, something like this, right? Well, the moving average, if you add one moving average to the chart, right? If you add one moving average to the chart that is currently bullish, right? If you add one moving average to that, it will stay kind of under price, right? So in a bullish market, the moving average is somewhat below price. However, if you add a second moving average that has a different period, right? A different period length to the first one, what would then happen is that the second moving average, depending on if the period length is, smaller or larger than the first one, would stay either below price like this. So in this particular example here, this first white line, okay, maybe let me use a different colored line. Okay, let me use a different colored line like this. Let's say this white line is a 10 period moving average. This would be like a 20 period moving average. Now, what we know about the market is a market is never, it doesn't really stay in one direction for it will never stay in one direction forever. So what it means is that at some point the market will change from, a bullish trend to a bearish trend to a sideways trend. Now, how it will do that, I'm not sure exactly, right? But it will go from one trend, one specific trend, to another, right? And so what we want to do, what we are trying to do here is take advantage of how the moving average interacts with price, right? So in a bullish market, we understand that the moving averages usually tend to stay above price. Now, the smaller the period, the closer to price it is. So if you add like a 5 period moving average, it might look something like this, right? And then a 50 period moving average might look something like this, right? Now, remember, when it comes to building Forex robots, you begin with the end in mind. So that means you would have, started with a concept that is already making sense, that is already that has shown profitability, and then look to develop on it. So once you've decided on what specific moving averages, make sense that or you're looking to use, and obviously you can edit it along the way, then you can look to proceed. Now, so let's take all of these things that we've done. Okay, let me complete this explanation here. So in a bearish market, when the market, let's say, begins to go bearish, what you'll find is that this moving average that was below price in the past, that was below price in the past, all of a sudden tends to stay above price. So it will kind of look like something like this. So this one would probably go up like this, and then this one would probably go like this. So there's a point somewhere where these two moving averages crosses over. And so what we're saying is we're trying to say, okay, well, if we can trade from this point at all times, look to take a trade. So we're going to look to buy when this fast moving average. So we're going to call the moving average that is above price the fast one because it's faster. And then the one, the other one, we're going to call it slow. So when the fast moving average crosses above the slow moving average, it kind of tells us that the price of the market possibly, right? Remember the word possibly wants to begin to go up. And then obviously the vice versa will be the case for the sell side. So we're going to just try and take that logic and tell it to an EA what to do to basically look at the markets all the time and then make decisions once those parameters are met. Okay, I hope we're together. I hope everybody is following here. So it's kind of like what you have on my chart here. So you have a chart. In this particular case, there are like three moving averages, right? You can see that in a bullish market, it tends to stay above price. And then in the bearish market, it tends to stay, sorry, in the bullish market, it tends to stay below price. That means price is above it. And then in the bearish market, it's kind of like below price. That means price is it is above so what we're going to try and do is try and build an EA that makes buying decisions at points like this. You can see there's a crossover here, and try and make a decision there. Something like this, there's a crossover here. There's a sell crossover here, and there's another possibly sell crossover here. So we're looking to build an EA that will make decisions when the moving averages crossover. Now, once we build this first, I'm sure it probably not make any money, or if it does, probably will not make much. Then we'll look to optimize it as we go. Now, what is the tool we're going to use to do that? Well, we're going to use what is called the FX Streamer, right? Well, the FX Dreamer is a web-based tool. Not doesn't have any, it's not owned by EBC or anything. It's actually, something you can access online. You do need to pay for it. So for instance, this is my what you call it, my account, which is paid for. But I don't think it's not that expensive, about I think $30 or something like that. Now, even without paying for it, you can actually use the platform. The only problem is that you'll not be able to download your projects to test them, right? You can only, for the free version, you can only do projects that doesn't have more than 10 connections. But on the FX Dreamer, you can see what it says here. It enables you to build your own expert advisor, your scripts, and all. Now, I remember on the seminar we had in Lagos, somebody was asking if you can convert indicators that are MT4 based to MT5 based. Yes, the FX Dreamer actually offers you a flexibility to do that on the paid version, though, although there might be some bug depending on how complex it is. But that is what you can do with the converter. But what we'll be working with is the builder area. So let me just click on this. And this is actually what it looks like, right? It's just a framework that enables us to build, this is kind of like our project space. And then these are kind of like parameters we'll use. Now, this might look small, but it contains a lot of things we can do, like a whole lot. I've built really, really complex EAs, with this, kind of like a combination of this and actual coding. So now let's go back to, remember when I was explaining the framework of we need to understand what we are trying to do and have a recipe for it. Well, the reason is because if you go haphazard, you get stuck. Like you kind of like shoot yourself in the foot because if you start without knowing what the overall outcome should be in your head, you wouldn't even know. It will be kind of difficult for you to place what you should be doing next. So now let's take what we have said, right? Let's take what we have said about the moving average crossover system, and let's build something around it. Well, what do we know? Well, first thing we know that we are looking to take buy trades. Our rule, so let me write here. Uh, so let me write here. So our rules is we're going to look to buy. So what do we need? Well, we're going to be needing two moving average. Let's just call it two MAs, right? And let's use 20 and 50. So we're going to use 20 and 50 exponential moving average, right? EMA. So those are what we'll be looking at, right? And the rule is going to be, well, we're going to look to buy if the 20 moving average crosses, so let's use X greater than above the 50 moving average. So that's going to be our sign to look for, to take a buy. And then the sell would be that, well, when the either you can say it's either the 20 crosses below or the 50 crosses above. So we're just going to keep it consistent and saying when the 20 crosses below this time. So I don't know if you understand what I just wrote here, but it's quite straightforward. EMA. So all of them are EMA. So what we're saying here is we're going to be telling our bots to look at these two EAs, these two MAs, that's the 20 and the 50 exponential moving averages. You can use simple moving average with linear weighted. I don't really care what you want to use, but this is just what we're going to use for this example, right? So we're going to look for buy signal when 20 crosses above the 50. We're going to look for sell signals when 20, crosses below the 50, right? Now, we're going to start by using a fixed stop loss. So we're going to use a stop loss, right, of 20. So we're going to use a stop loss of 20 pips. And then we're going to use a take profits, CAP, of, let's say, 50 pips. So that it's like kind of like 1:2.5, because I'm always a big fan of, of having a positive RR, right? So for every trade we take, we're going to be risking 20 pips and we're going to go in after 50 pips. So like it's 1:2.5. So even if it's right, and even if it loses if he loses 6 out of every 10 trades, it will still be profitable. If he loses out 7 out of every 10 trades, it will still be profitable, right? So that is the rule. This is basically here is our blueprint. So this is kind of like, think of it like an architectural framework where you're going to say, okay, the architect, this is the blueprint to use to build the house. So the architect will go, well, following those rules. Now, this is a very simple EA, so it's kind of straightforward. I don't need to do this. But when you're building really complex EAs, it will help to be able to itemize what you're trying to do. So what we're going to now do is, okay, this is what we want to do. How do we translate it to a functional expert advisor? Well, on the FX Dreamer workspace here, you'll notice here at the top, it says events, right? So I have, where's my pen too? Yeah. So here it says events, right? And on event, you have on init, on timer, on tick, on trade, on chat, on whatever that is, right? Now, if you pay attention when Precious David was having a session yesterday, if you look at those codes, they had several okay, I don't want to use programming language, but they had several blocks of line, right? So several aspects of those code that were in, let me call it brackets, right? There were several aspects that were enclosed within a subset, and they might say on init or on stats. So basically, most of the time, we're going to be working on tick. What this means is any code that you place here or any building block you place on this workspace that is under on tick, the EA would be at every price tick, right? That is almost every second. At every price tick would be executing the code within here. It will be looking to see if the function that you place here is valid. And if it's valid, it will execute, right? If you put on init, it means on initiation, the moment you open the EA. So remember all those times where you would, if you get an EA and you open it, it will show you whether you want to, if you're going to apply it on only buy or sell, whether you want to adjust certain parameters. That is on initiation. That is that those functions are executed under here, right? Now, the good thing is you don't need to bother yourself about them because the FX Dreamer will build all of the associating code, right, for you on the back end, right? All you just need to do is focus on tick side. Now, once you get advanced, you realize there are certain times you want to do things on timer or on trade or on chat. But for now, most of what you'll be working with is under on tick. Now, well, the first thing we want to, so basically all we ask ourselves is, so on tick, at every price tick, we want to tell our EA to look to see if there is any trade. Because one thing we don't want a situation where our bot keeps taking trade every second, because then we'll blow our account. So one of the first things that you want to do is to say, okay, if there are no trades, then look at this code. So it will only look at every other thing that you build under if no trade is executed, right? If there are no open trades on the chart. Now, how do we do that here? Well, on these variables here, on this not variables, on these functions here, they have several drop downs, so you can just click on them and they will open, and there are lots of them. So what we're going to be working to is to check trading conditions. So check trade and order counts. This is where we want to find the no trade, right? So all we just do is just drag this. See how easy it is. So just click and drag, right? No tree to drag this out. Now, what are we saying? Well, if I double click on this, it will open this dialog box. What I'm saying is if there are no trades, either buy or sell, right? If there are no trades, either buy or sell. Now, it's already on that, so I'll just click update. Now, what it means is if this condition is true, then it would look down it's kind of like if this one is true, then look at the next part, right? So if first of all we want to make sure that there are no trades. So if there are no trades, what do we want to do? Well, we are looking at two EMAs, right? We're looking at 10 and 50 EMAs, and we're looking to make conditions, to make buying decisions if these parameters or if the buy condition or the sell condition are met. So we already know what they are. So let's instruct our EE to look for them. So under condition and formula tab, I can just click on condition, drag it out, right? Now, if I was building, because sometimes when I'm building really complex EE, I might spend several weeks, sometimes several months building is, optimizing and going back and forth because it can get complex at times. You're trying to make something work, it's not working. So I usually tend to label my functions properly so that I know what I'm looking at. But for now, let's just keep it simple. So I can just easily come here, click on edit title and say buy condition, right? So I just know that whatever is inside here is my condition for buy, if it's my buy condition. So I'll just do this like this. Now, if I double click on this, right? I can now say, okay, what are we trying to do? Well, going back here again, we're looking to buy if our 20 and our 50 exponential moving average react. That means if the 20 period moving average, sorry, can you guys see me? See my screen? I think I had somebody. Okay, well, so we're looking to take a buy trade if the 20 period moving average, exponential moving average crosses above the 50. How do we do that? Now, under the condition, you can see that there are several things here. There's accounts, there's candle, there's indicator, there's, lots of things that you come to learn to work with in the future. But for now, what we're looking at is the moving average, and the moving average is an indicator. So under indicator, you can see that there's alligator, there's fractal, there's Henshey, there's MACD, but we're looking at the moving average. So let's stick to that. Now, what is the period for the moving average we're looking at? Well, the period is the 20 and the 50. So here, let's say it's moving average period. You could just erase this and put the number you want. So 20, right? So the moving average, if the 20 period moving average, it's what type of moving average? Exponential, right? Now, you could see, I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you're looking at this from your laptop or, you can see what I'm doing here. But there's a small checkbox close to all of these things here, right? Now that checkbox is there if we want that parameter to be editable after we're done building the code. So what I mean is, remember if you open an EA under, under inputs, you'll be able to adjust certain things like the stop loss value or some parameters. So if you check this box, then that parameter would be editable when you're basically building. So do we want the period moving average to be editable? Yeah, sure. I'll probably put 20. Now, personally, if I was doing this myself, I wouldn't use 20 here. I'll declare a constant so that, anyway, let's not go there. So let me just keep it simple. I'll click on this so that we can edit it later. And I'm just going to leave the rest the way it is because I don't want too many inputs. If not, it will get confusing. Now, another thing you want to do is under more settings, you can see a number of things: symbols, time frame, candle lighting. Time frame, we want to leave it as current. That means whatever the time frame on the chart, that is what it will use. But the candle ID, we want to set it to 1. Now, the reason is this. When you look at the chart, so let me reset this. When you look at the chart, irrespective of the time frame, the current candle has an ID of 0, right? The current candle you're looking at has an ID of 0. The previous candle has an ID of 1. The one before that has an ID of 2, so and so forth and so on, right? So that means at any given point of time, the current candle has an ID of 0. The moment this candle closes and a new one opens, that new one becomes 0, candle ID 0, and this one becomes candle ID 1. I hope you're following, right? So what we want to be looking at is candle ID 1. Why? Because we know that the current candle is is still in motion. It's still in that indeterminate, right? It has not. So let me just go to the 1 minute time frame, for instance. For this current candle now, I don't know if it's going to be bullish or bearish. It's still forming. But once it is closed, it has now become, it is set. It is set in stone. So, and you know that, so for instance, the candle, this candle can go up like this, let's especially during news, get to this high, but end up closing back down here. And while this candle went up to this high, it might appear the moving average, because remember, the moving average is a dynamic, like it's a dynamic indicator in the sense that it flows with price. So while the candle is live and maybe the candle is this high, the moving average would have crossed. But then at the end of the day, by the time the candle closes, the moving average would have uncrossed again. So instead of taking all those false positive, we want to only look at the candle that has just closed, not the candle that is currently forming. And that's the reason why we have our candle ID set to 1, right? And most of the times, that's what we're going to have. Now, obviously, you can put your logic together. Now, so this is the first part. We've set that our 20-period exponential moving average. Now, if you see here, it says is what? If our 20-period moving average is, so here we can do a comparison test. We can see, is it greater than, is it less than, is it crossing above, is it crossing below, is it crossing or equal to, is it greater than or equal to, is it less than or equal to, is it exactly equal, is it not equal? That's what all of this means. So for those of you that did Boolean in school. Now, for condition, what we're looking to do is we're looking to buy, right? We're looking to buy. Where did we put that? I know I type all of that. Well, you know what our buy? Okay, no, that was on a daily chart. So it'll be easier to see there. Yeah. So our buy condition is when the 20 moving average cross above the 50. So we're just going to select if it's crossing greater than. That simply means crosses above. The width length, we'll keep it at 1. And then we'll just set the parameter for the 50. So here I'll just put 50, but I'll also check the box so that we can edit it later. Make sure this is the exponential moving average. And under candle ID, I'll set this to 1. And that's it, right? So as easy as this is now, we have done the first part of the condition for the buy. So this is our condition for the buy. So all we just do is just connect this. You can connect it before or after, it doesn't matter. So I'll just drag this. So from this orange to the top of this. So just saying, if there are no trade, look at this code here. But remember, we're not only looking to buy, we are also looking to sell. Now we can do this part, we can do the same thing over again, or we can just copy and adjust. But just for the sake of learning, so that you see it happen again, I'll just drag and drop. So I'm just going to do condition. I'll edit the title to say sell condition. Okay. You don't have to edit the title. I can just connect this to this and modify it. So we're looking at the sell condition is that the 20-period moving average, we're going to check it so we can adjust it later. We're going to make sure we're looking at candle ID 1. If the 20-period moving average cross below the 50, so we're going to make this 50, check this box again, and adjust this to see candle ID 1, right? And just like that, we're done. So now, what is this? On every tick, I like to teach in such a way where so on every tick, it will look at this code. If this is valid, then it will look at these two conditions. However, if there is the current trade, now remember, if there's a trade that is opened by this EA, that's all what the EA is looking at, not if there are any other open positions. If there's a trade that the EA itself on that particular chart has opened, right? If there is no trade, then it will look at the buy condition. If the buy condition is met, it will execute whatever we put below it. Otherwise, it will look at the sell condition, and if the sell condition is met, it will execute whatever we put here. Now, I need to hurry up. We seem to be running out of time. Okay, so what do we do next? Well, we just select a buy now for here and the sell now for here. Okay, buy now, sell now. So all I'll just do is connect this to this and connect this to this like so. Now I need to modify the parameters because I remember here we said we're going to buy, when we buy whatever is a whenever we take a trade, buy or sell, we're going to use a 20 pip stop loss and a 50 pip take profit. So let's impute that. Now our volume, we can, anyway, I'm going to leave those, but we can set our volume, the default volume as 0.1, one lot, 0.01, it doesn't matter. But we can just check this box here so that we can modify it in, while it's running or while it's, before we execute it, right? So we'll leave it at 0.1, but we'll check this box, right? And then for stop loss, it says fixed pips. We'll leave it at that, but we're going to set this to 20. So remember, this is in pips, not points, right? And our take profit, we'll leave it at 50 pips. And all we'll just do is click updates, right? We'll do the same thing for the sell side, right? Adjust this to be editable, modify this to say 20. You can adjust, the stop loss and take profit, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make it editable. Okay, so I'll just click on updates. Now, believe it or not, we have built our first project together. Now, what is this project supposed to do? Remember, this code is not supposed to, it's not about whether it's going to make us money. It's about whether it's going to do exactly what we asked it to do. And what did we ask it to do? Well, we want it to look at the moving averages. Let's say that is the 20, and then this is the 50. So if the 20 crosses above the 50, we want it to open a buy. And when the 20 crosses below the 50, we want it to open a sell. Simple as that, right? So whenever it happens, we want it to take that. And then when it takes a buy, put this 20 pips stop loss, a 50 pips take profits. And then if it does this, we're good to go. So what we're going to do now, we're going to test to see if what we've just done is even working, okay? So how do we download our project? So I'm just going to rename it. So let me just name it test one. Call it test one. Okay. So to download our project, all we just need to do is, so there are two formats you can download it as. You can download it as NQ4 or EX4. Now, if you download it as NQ4, right, you can modify the code on the meta editor. But if you download it as EX4, then you cannot edit the code. You can only just use it, right? Usually, for most of those EAs you see online that you buy, they give you the EX4 file. Nobody will give you the MQ4 file because then you can adjust it, and especially if you understand coding like myself. Now we're going to just download the MQ4 because, well, whatever it's our bots. So we'll download the MQ4. Now note that your your MetaTrader 4 or MetaTrader 5 does not run the MQ4 file. It runs the EX4 file, right? But the MQ4 file is the raw file. So let's just download the MQ4 file because I wanted to show you how you can, how the code comes out, right? So we've downloaded our file, right? Let's just open it. Now notice that as I click on the code, it comes out on the meta editor. Can you see what it looks like? Exactly kind of like the same thing that, Mr. Precious showed you guys yesterday on the what do you call it? OpenAI, right? ChatGPT, right? You could see it's all the things that we've done together. It built out a code, very orderly code, right? Now this it will look like jargons for most of you, but you could see all our inputs. So here we have our input parameters, right? MA period 20, MA period. So this is MA period for the buy, 20 and 50, MA period for the sell, 20 and 50, volume for the buy and sell, So all of those things that we set, it actually built a code, a box for it. Now notice where all of this code is running, right? Here you'll see, so anyway, I don't want to confuse you guys though, but all of this code is running on tick, right? It's running on the on tick function, right? And they will execute, it will look at all of this code on the onTick section, but let's leave this. So what you can do here, the way you can incorporate this somehow is, if you can, especially if you understand programming to a slight degree, you can get the code and adjust certain things, because sometimes there are certain times I'm trying to do a specific thing, but either ChatGPT or FX Dreamer is unable to understand what I'm trying to, I don't know, maybe I would say it's difficult for me to, do that with them, using those platforms, but I'll just have to come and actually code it myself, what I wanted to do. But this is what the code looks like. And if we compile this, it would, okay, so now it's actually trying to run on our MT4. We don't want to run it, right? But it's okay. We've compiled it. It has basically installed it on our MT4 and it wants to run it on the chat, but let's not do this. I'm going to close this. What we want to do is we want to test, we want to back test it, just like Mr. Precious showed you guys yesterday. So I can close this because we don't need it. Now, if you have the ex4 file, you'll not be able to open that on the to see the code like I just did now on the meta editor. So now we're on a MT4. I hope everybody can see my MT4, right? Quickly give me just quick feedback. Can everybody see my MT4? Yeah, okay, good, good. Okay, so now what we want to do here is to see if our EA is in exactly what we asked it to do, right? And how do we do that? Well, we use the strategy tester. I currently have it open here, right? But if you don't have it open, you can easily access it from either this box here. So you can click on strategy tester or go to view and click on strategy tester, or just simply click on Control R, right? So if you click on strategy tester, it would bring up strategy tester or close it. So I'm just going to open it back up again, right? And so what we're going to do now is we're going to get our EA. So this is our EA. Now it is on the test mode. Now, because I opened it using the meta editor, it came straight to this MT4. But sometimes you might have multiple MT4 on your system. If you want to get the EA that you built where it should be, because you need to go to File, go to Open Data folder, right? So you open the MT4, go to File, go to Open Data folder, then under MQL4, under Experts, this is where you will find all your EAs, right? So you just copy the EA and paste it here. So you can see it's already here. Now it's here because I opened it when I clicked on it after I downloaded it. It opened straight on the Metal editor, right? Otherwise, I'd have to go and actually copy it and put it here. You can see that this particular file here is the source file. You can see what it says here, source file. It is the MQ4 file. However, you can see another file, which is the EX4 file. The EX4 file is what the MT4 executes, right? So, and that is it here. So, what we'll just do now is test it. So I'm just going to go to look for that file. So test one, that's what we called it. And then we'll select the symbol. So I'm just going to test this on GBP USD, which we have been looking at. So I'm going to test this on GBP USD. We're going to test it on the 1 hour time frame. But let's use this date right here. This is September to November. Okay. And then we are going to, so let's go to expert properties. So let's see some of those things that we did. Now this, under input here, you can now see that we are able to adjust moving average. So this is the MA period for the buy, 20 and 50. We can make this 30 and whatever, 150. This is the stop loss, the lot size for the buy, lot size for the sell. This is the stop loss for buy, stop loss for sell. So it's because we check that box that we can edit it here. But notice how it is named in such a way that, after a while it get confusing. Now, when I'm building personal EEs, I usually declare variables so that I can just easily call on those functions. But that's for a later time. Now, so let's just test what we did. So I think everything looks good. Click on scan. And so while we're waiting for that to happen, let's just set the EA to impute our moving average. So let's just put a 20 exponential EA and add our 50, because I want you to see, we're looking to see, no, exponential, we want to see if it's going to take trades when the moving averages crosses over each other. And we want to also see if those trades would be taken based on the 20 pips stop loss, 50 pips take profits. Okay. So while we're waiting for this to load, quickly tell me, so far so good. How is it going? I hope you're enjoying the class. Okay. Is this still loading? Okay, still it's still loading. Okay. It's taking too long. Hmm. Okay. So okay, yes. Interesting, good. Let's see. Okay, it's still downloading the history. Okay, so so while we're waiting on that to complete, so far so good, right? Yeah, Jonathan mentioned that he will need to watch it over and over to get it. Okay, good, no problem. And that's why the recording is there. So I'm just going to pause this, right? So our EA is running. I think it's already taking a trade, right? So you can see our graph, we had a trade down. Now, where did he take that trade, right? What happened? Well, where is my pen tool here? He took a trade here. It's a sell trade. Why did he take the trade? Notice that there's this big drop like this, right? And that drop caused the moving average to cross. Remember, the moving average is actually a lagging indicator. So it happens after price has, it will occur after price has happened, right? So this big candle here caused the moving average to cross over, and it took a sell trade at the, so this is the candle where the moving average crossover. But remember, it will have to wait for that candle to close, and then the candle becomes candle ID one, right? And then it take the trade. So it took the trade. I hope you guys can see what I'm saying, what I'm doing here, though. So it took the sell trade. You can see the line there, and it put a stop loss there. In this particular case, it hit our stop loss. So if I go to where is this? Remove this. So if I go to graph or result, you see that it took a sell trade, 0.1 pips, sorry, 0.1 lot size, and it was a loss, right? A loss of $20. Very good. And then, we're going to continue this. We're going to allow the EA to continue to take trades, and then we'll see what happens. Oh, sorry. I went to click on stop instead of. Okay, so before I continue, let me just adjust this. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make this one lot and one lot. Okay, so I'm just going to start this again. Grid. Make this candle. Moving average. So let me just add the moving averages back. So that's 20, 50. Yeah. Okay, so now let's play price and crossover. So there's a crossover that just happened and it took that trade. So that was the first trade that became a loss. So let's just continue to see what it does. And so what we're expecting now is if this, what would I call this color now? Light blue or whatever. If it crosses, because this light blue now is the fast moving average, is the 20 period moving average, and the yellow one is the 15. If this light blue moving average cross above the yellow, I expect the EA to take a trade, right? And if it does, then it's doing everything. So it has taken a sell trade, so it confirms the sell side is working just fine. Let's see if it takes a buy trade and then confirm if that's working also just fine. And then you can see it there. So it took a buy trade. When the crossover happened, this is also a loss. So even though the EA so far is, so that was a profit. So even though the EA so far has taken three trades, so it has taken three trades, two losses and one win. But because of the parameter we set, our stop loss is 20 pips, our take profit is 50 pips. I think we should be up, right? Yeah, we should be up back to where we started, just around slightly above, because uh two losses give us a minus 400 loss, 412. One win gave us 494. So let's allow it to play on, right? So far so good. Our EA is doing exactly what we asked it to do, right? I don't know if it will be profitable at the end of the day or not, but it is doing what we asked it to do, and that is the main goal, right? It is taking trade when the moving average crossover and the reverse is also the case. Now, but you might look at this, right? If you're a trend, moving average is a trend-based EA, right? And so you might not be thinking to yourself, if I can stay in the trend longer, right? Then maybe, just maybe the EA would make more money. So that means, when it's in the trade, I want to stay on the trade until, so instead of using a fixed stop loss, we might use some sort of a dynamic stop loss, right? Yeah, we can tell our EA to do that. Now, I don't know whether we have the time. I actually wanted to, for us to build the EA together to dynamically, instead of using fixed stop loss, but you have a situation where, so for instance, would you not like to have a situation where the EA takes a sell trade from here, just like it did, but instead of
All right. I think Mr. Obina's network, yeah, I think he's having a network issue. Let's just hold on a little bit for him to actually join us again. I believe he's working on joining us back. I think he's having a network issue. So let me just pause the recording.
For closing a sale, the condition for closing a sale is when the what's that again? 20 crosses above the 50. So it will be 20x greater than, right? And then what do we want to do? We want to close sell. And that's it. Right. So now we have our sell area condition and have our buy area condition. I'm just going to create an area on top of it. And yeah, good. So now what we have is a situation where if there are no trade, it will check the buy condition. If the buy condition is met, it will buy. Otherwise, it will check the sell condition. If the sell condition is met, it will sell. Now, whether you buy or sell, it will not use the stop loss. It will just open using a fixed lot size. Now, if there is a trade and it is a buy, it will continue to check the condition for closing a buy. And the condition for closing a buy is when the 20 period moving average crosses below the 50, it will close that buy trade, but that condition is also the same as opening a sell trade, and it would open a sell trade and vice versa. So now let's just take all of this. So in theory, this should be more, should actually make us more money in the trending market. Now, remember, if the market is ranging, if the market is staying at a place and it's not really moving in one direction, this could actually lose you more money. But in a ranging market condition, you realize that the profit it makes is quite significant. And so let's see what happens. So I'm just going to name this test 2 so that well, just going to name it test 1 because I don't need the other one, so it will overwrite it. Okay, let's just name it test 2. Okay. So I'm just going to name this test 2, and we'll just download that file. I'm going to just download the ex4 file. I'm not going to download the mq4 file because don't need to run it. And then I'll just click on save. Okay. So we are done with this one. We built the bot, optimize it. Now let's backtest it and see if it's still going to do what we asked it to do. So now in this case, I'm going to have to refresh here. No, I'm going to need to bring in this bot that we built into this into the MT4. So I'll just go to File, go to Open Data Folder, right? Go to where I downloaded the file. I'm just going to go to MQF4, Exports, and I'll just go to my downloads, and cut. I don't need it. I just cut, and paste it here. So I've pasted it. That's test 2. Okay. I'm just going to refresh here. And we have our test 2 file here. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is just test it. Test 2. And I'm going to test it using the same condition as we did the first one. So this is our report for the first one. We ended up with a net positive of almost $1,000. So let me see my graph. Almost $1,000. So we made it almost $1,000 on the 10K account, about 10%. All right. So let's see if we make more money or lose more money here. Remember, this is not financial advice. So I'm just going to click on, do I need to check this? No, I think everything is fine. Just click on start. So while we're waiting for it to load price, I'm just going to set, because I always like to do that so that you can see the interaction with the market. So I'm just going to, so let me pause this. I'm just going to pause this. Yeah, beautiful. So I'm just going to pause this and I'm going to add the 2 moving averages. So that's 20. Let's add 50. So 50 would be yellow. And we'll click on. So now we have our 20 and our 50. Now look at what's happening now. There's a trade here. There's a sell trade, right? Look at where the sell trade occurred. Why did it take a sell trade there? Well, let me change this pen color. White. Okay, so why did it take a sell trade here? Well, you can see that there's a crossover here. This crossover happened at this candle, after this candle here, right? And it took a sell trade. Now, our rules say it will stay on this trade until this blue moving average, which is our 20, cross back above the yellow, right? So let's see if our EA is functioning correctly. I'm just going to continue. Let's see. And then it closed the trade there, right? Let's see. Yeah. So you could see that it closed the let me move this to the side. It closed the sell trade there, but it also opened the buy trade, if I'm not mistaken. So let me check the result. Yeah, so it closed the sell trade and opened a buy trade, right? Now, in this case, our losses would be dynamic, right? It would, before we had a fixed stop loss, but now it would depend on where the moving average crossed over, itself. So it would open let's see, it should actually be always being on the trade. So let me see. Yeah, beautiful. So he closed that sell trade, opened a buy trade, which also closed at a loss. And then now it's opened the sell trade, which closed at a loss, and now it's in the buy trade. So let's see. So now our graph is looking downwards, no problem. Let's see how it ends up. And then the market continues to move. Let's adjust this so we can. Yeah. So notice that it's still in this trade. Normally it would have closed it at 50 pips, but it's still in this trade. And it will not close this trade until this moving average cross back down. So this is a classic here. This is a classic example of a ranging market where the EA will struggle. You could see it took 3 trades here or 2 trades here, which were losses. And in a trending market condition like this, it would actually find a lot of joy. Now, obviously, remember, if you're let's say doing this on a demo on a live account, you can close your trade at any point you like manually and then to still look to take trades. So let's continue. You should close the trade anytime now. So here you can see it closed that trade there. Okay. Um, let's see what our graph looks like. So you can see our graph is already way back up. Look at, we dropped heavily and now we're pushing back down. So I'm just going to allow it to run. I'm not going to interfere again. And so here is a classic example of how you build an EA, how you look to optimize over time. Okay, so something is actually wrong with this EA. It's making money, yes, but um, ordinarily, it's actually supposed to be in a sell trade here because this condition for closing a sell is the same as opening a buy. But I'm not going to. We don't have the time. I'm not going to go and start debugging it and fixing it. But it's still because what is happening now is when it closes the buy or the sell, it doesn't instantly open another trade, which is what we wanted it to do. But this is still fine. So I'm just going to allow it to continue to move. Okay. And yeah, beautiful. No, our bot is doing exactly what we asked it to do. Okay, bar some slight differences. Yeah. Otherwise, all is well. And let's just allow this run down to the end. So now would be the time where obviously you will have a very, very few, very, very what do you call it? Um, we don't have as much time, but I'll be able to take some questions. And maybe what I will do now is there's a bot. Okay, yes, somebody said, okay, so we can also add break even and trading function. Yeah, we can add break even and trading function, but that is adding break even and trading function is an entire beast. Like the amount of code it requires to do that is the logic behind that is crazy insane actually. So let this run. You can see this is a very, very big gain. Okay, so what's happening? It dropped, actually took a lot of losses. Uh, okay. So now this bot it didn't perform as good as the other one, right? I guess because market was ranging more often. But if you were, let's say, applying this to a real market condition, you have to do some sort of a comparison between looking at the what you call it, like a higher time frame, and then deciding on when to turn it on or turn it off. But this model would make you more money in theory over a long period of time than the other one. But all is, basically the whole objective of this training is to show you what is possible. It's not about giving you, it's not about making this EA and expecting it to be profitable. But what I'm going to just do now quickly before we round up is just do a quick back test on, something, Precious mentioned something earlier, with regards to, I think, having trailing stop function and all. So let me just do a what you call that? Yeah, let's test this box. Okay, so I'm the FX Jedi. You could, check me up online and thereabouts. So that's why you find most of my bots carry my signage FX Jedi. Yeah. And then so let's back test this bot and see. Let's do it on the same time frame, on this same chart and see the function of trail stopping and how that will work for us. So I'm just going to put the grid, remove this grid, and do this. So now is the time to drop in your questions if you have them. Now look at this, right? Okay, well, let's just see. This bot is very different in the sense that it would continue to trail stop price over a number of pips. And so that you don't have a situation where you make a lot of profit and end up being in a loss. So let's look for examples like that. So see what happened here. There's a trade. See where the stop loss was. He opened a buy trade here, right? He opened a buy trade here. This is where the stop loss is. And then after price has moved a specific amount, it moved the stop loss to break even. So what happens is if price comes down and and goes like this, we'll not make any loss here. We'll be at break even. But if price continues to move, it will continue to adjust the stop loss higher and higher so that at the end of the day, you're able to maximize the entire move, right? And this is one I built quite a while. But in order to incorporate, break even and trading stop function, it's a lot of coding and FX Dreamer, let me call it like that. But yeah, it's, you could build very sophisticated things using this, right? And yeah, you can see the bots. It would see it's moved the stop loss to break even. Now the stop loss is slightly above price and slightly below in terms of profits, and it's just going to keep adjusting the stop loss until the market is run. So, and that way you can see you'll be able to maximize the move. Now this bot would also struggle in a ranging market, but if the market is trending and really, really trending, it could really make you a lot of money, right? But if the market is ranging, it could lose you a lot of money too at the same time if you're able to, if you just keep speaking to it back and forth and back and forth. But when the market moves like this, now you could see it would just try to capture as much of the price, as much as the movement as possible, right? So, yeah, I've come to the end of my section. I think I took exactly the 20, 30 minutes I asked for. Let's just allow this to complete and then we'll see what the report looks like. It's already at 11K already, Seth. It's made 10% on this. But remember, this is not financial advice, right? This is just something personally that's done, and yeah. So it ended up at around 11K thereabouts. Yeah. So let's look at the reports. We had a maximum drawdown of 15%. A maximum drawdown of 15%. Total loss of 4.3, total profit of 4.3, total loss of 3.3, so about $1,000, 10% gain on this account over like 2 months thereabout, which is not bad, right? On one pair. Okay. And then if you were optimizing this, if you were adjusting it to trade in certain market conditions or not trade in certain market conditions, you could even take this, you could increase the performance even further. Okay, yeah, so we have finally come to the end of this session, which is the FX Dreamer, building a Forex robot, EA automation. We've done, so far, I think we've actually given out so much value in 3 days than you probably have gotten elsewhere. I know for most of us here who are traders, I believe all of us have accounts with TBC, but I know some of us are not trading with TBC and or yet we have accounts elsewhere and all. And you in terms of value, the value that's given, that EBC is actually second to none, right? We really care about clients and we want we want basically, we're one of the brokers one of the few brokers, if any, that really want traders to be profitable, right? Because, we want to be the hub where you think of trading in a space. EBC should be the first thing that comes to your mind, and you can see why we are very, very big on trust and respect. And, like Mr. Precious mentioned yesterday, you could get access to this EA, to his, to some EAs that he showed. You could also get access to, the EA that we built in class today and this last one that I shared here. All you just need to do is reach out to your account manager and you do, you're not going to pay for it. No, it's free, but you have to have, they will tell you what the minimum requirements in terms of how much capital you need to have in your account. Because if you're going to go and buy this EA, I'm sure when Mr. Pressure showed you yesterday, some of this EA cost like $1,000, $500, just to get them. You don't even know if it will work or not, right? You don't even know whether the logic is sound or not. So the value of, of an EA, at least you're going to spend like $500 to get one, right? So now I was saying, don't give the money to us, just fund your account, right? Account, um, fund your account, the minimum requirement that's instructed by your account manager, and then trade. But remember, if you're going to look to apply EA on any chart, you need to have quite sufficient amount of funds. Because I know people will say, I don't have money. I have like, can I trade this on a $50 account? It's your money. You can trade it on anything you want to trade it on. However, you're most likely going to lose it if you try to trade an EA that's, for instance, a martingales on a small account like that, because then it could just, weak you out and out of the market. So, but a sizable, at least have something reasonable in your account, and then try and apply it if you want to. Remember, this is not a what you call it. It is not the EBC is not giving you an EA to trade with. No, we do not. We are a brokerage space, right? The brokerage house. We only provide you the platform to trade. All of these are just value-added services by us, so that you are encouraged to do business with us. EBC does not give you bots to trade. It's not going to be responsible for what happens, whether you use or don't use, right? Trading carries risks, but all this is for, training purposes, for test purposes, and if you choose to apply, then it's all on you. Okay, so give me a quick feedback. Let me know if you enjoyed the class, the training so far. If you learned something new, if you're going to be if you're going to be if you're excited about doing businesses with us, let me know. And then if you're going to be looking to get the EA, yeah. So questions. So Jonathan says, when you say reasonable amount, what is reasonable enough? Okay, so personally, I would say now for certain E's, if EA martingales, I would suggest you have. Personally, I would say at least have $1,000. I probably want to see 10,000. I know many people don't. But at least have $1,000 and set it to the minimum lot size and minimum lot multiplier. If you're using something that is not, like, for instance, if you want to use this last year I shared, you could use it on a $500. You can even use it on a $200 account, but set it to the minimum possible lot size, right? I'd encourage. And then back test it, right? Back test it and see if it's something that makes a lot of sense to you. Don't take my word for it. Remember, you have to, but you see, we're using back testing. I'm not treating this on the live account, so it's back test, so that we can now make decisions on that. Okay. Thank you very much, Divolenti. Said I've learned a lot today. Thanks. Thank you too. What's that? Aye Fu. So can EBC be connected to MT4, MT5? Yeah, sure, definitely. We have the MT4, MT5 will be having C trader soon, and also trading view connection very soon. Yeah, Jonathan says this is too much to be free. It's actually actually, for me to teach you, how to trade or anything in particular, you pay me $1,000. Right? How many people can afford to pay me $1,000? And even if you have $1,000 to pay me, doesn't guarantee that I'll teach you, because I might not have the time to schedule you into my calendar, right? So it's a lot of content for free. Remember, check me out on everywhere. I'm FX Jedi, the FX Jedi on everywhere. Socials, Instagram, Facebook. Oh, no, not Facebook. No. Okay. Yeah, I added the break-even parts. I think the class was recorded. Yeah, I think the class was recorded. Yeah. Thank you very much, Gabriel. This class was really deep and impactful. Yes, it's what I do. One of my passions is actually helping people to get better in trading, but right now I'm more don't have that much time, so I have to delegate that. I know, but I hope everybody learned something. I hope you're excited about the opportunities. So I can see, yeah, we have, the house is not as full as I would have liked it, but they're still full enough. There's Gabriel Ayefu Divolente. In case I'm, messing up your name, please forgive me. Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Kalu. Thank you very much, everyone. Rare Gold, Yemi, Olutayo, Kaios, everybody. So there's a lot, like this financial space is very, very large. You can branch out in serious parts. You can, be a quant, you could trade manually, you could do EA, you could do a hybrid, right? Personally, I like the feel for trading. Like I actually like look there, and just to be clear, there are certain systems that will be difficult, if not impossible, to code, right? So the way I treat the actual system I treat, I don't have a bot for it because it will take a lot of like I might have to spend years just to even get it right, and even at that, it might not still because if your system involves very straightforward rules that you can explain using the chat, then it's probably easy. Like if, for instance, you're doing something like, oh, if the MACD is here and the RSI is here, you can build EA around that. You can even build logic around bullish or bearish candlesticks setup, bearish engulfing or bullish spin bar, stuff like that. But if it's an intense concept, like let's say SMC, where you need to now start, it's going to be difficult to start looking to define other blocks or defining certain areas because those things don't have a fixed look in the chart. So those kind of EAs might be difficult. Those are the ones that if you're able to build, it will require AI. Not, I don't mean AI like ChatGPT. I mean, you're going to have to build an AI that learns because AI is something that continuously learns. But this EA that we build doesn't learn anything. It will just take the instruction that we've given to it and just continue to execute. But in order to do something like that, you need to, maybe look into building an AI. And if you're going to look to build an AI, you're not going to need, it's definitely not going to be with FX Dreamer. It's going to be with actual, the MQL4 language. Really actually coding it might, the using the source code and but even at that, it would be difficult to explain certain parameters. But you don't need to. You can just explain certain defined things you want to, and then execute. So what I would encourage for anybody is like do a form of hybrid, right? Where even though you have an EA, you don't set it to set and forget. Like you're not going to touch it again. Like Precious mentioned the other time. Sometimes you might need to turn off this thing. Like just so let me go back to my MC4 here. You might need to pause or turn on auto trading, right? So that it doesn't pick trades, let's say during certain times, maybe news periods, maybe during times when the market doesn't look clean on, let's say, a higher time frame. You can just set it to pause, just turn it off instead of turning it on. And then it won't pick trades around that time. And then you can set it to look for trades when you think the market condition is more favorable, right? Also know that doing something like that might also get into situations where because you're paused, the market will move and a trade you will miss. Don't sweat over trades that you missed. Opportunities will always present themselves to you. Okay, so I have been talking for